I've got the truck up on jack stands, I have the front tire off, and then I've also removed all of the push pin fasteners and other hardware that hold the inner fender liner in. I have one bolt holding that mud flap in, which also holds the inner fender liner in. There's a nut on the back of that. I can't easily get to it, so I'm just going to work with it like this. We're just going to fold that down out of the way as best I can. Wow, rotating it upside down seems to do the trick. So we'll also need to disconnect the battery. Trucks that get driven a lot in the wintertime, it's going to be really common for those nuts to be corroded in place. And probably what will happen is the stud will just snap off. So it's not a bad idea to have a spare nut on hand when you replace any of your glow plugs. My next few video clips leave a little bit to be desired because my camera insisted on focusing on that little yellow work light rather than the actual glow plug inside of the engine. But I do have a good video clip of when I thread the glow plug out. It's easiest to get in here with a socket and ratchet. And that one did exactly what it's supposed to do. It just unthreaded. This truck is 14 years old. It's only got 76,000 miles on it. So everything is still really clean under here because I don't drive it in the wintertime much. As it turns out, it's actually kind of difficult to get in there with a socket. Shallow socket's too shallow, deep socket's too deep. The reason a deep socket is too deep is because there's not enough space between the end of the socket and the steering shaft to be able to attach your ratchet. And I also tried using an extension and a little flex joint, but that didn't work either. There was just too much angle for that flex joint to be able to function like it should and get any kind of leverage on the ratchet to break the glow plug loose. Ideally, a deep socket that was cut down about 2/3 of the original length would be ideal. So I have a closed-in wrench in here, and it's a little bit difficult to get in there. I've already broke it loose, so now I just need to spin it out. It is actually pretty common for these to become corroded in place, and they may very well snap off, at which point then it's a challenge to remove it. Let's take a closer look at this. As you can see, there's absolutely no corrosion on here, so I'm really fortunate. What we're going to do when we reinstall the new one is put a little bit of anti-seize compound on those threads. And here's our new one. I ordered this on Amazon. I'll have an Amazon affiliate link down in the description below. And this is a genuine GM part. Here's the part number on the end of the box. Let's smear a little anti-seize on here. This stuff is so messy. Thread the new one in place, and then we'll get our wrench on there and tighten it up. This project is actually fairly simple on this truck of mine anyway, because nothing's corroded and everything's relatively clean. I actually spend more time jacking the truck up, removing the tire, fiddling with the inner fender than the actual project of replacing the part itself. I'm using a ratcheting wrench. Glow plug number 2, you could also use a wrench on it. It is kind of blocked by this intercooler piping. And then number 6 and number 8 are relatively easy to get to. Then we'll reinstall our nut. That's all there is to it other than putting everything back together, which is probably going to be a 20-minute process. Replacing the glow plug, 5-minute project, other than taking everything apart and putting it all back together.